Joining me now is Marta Norden. She's the Chief Investment Strategist at Empower. Marta, welcome to NYSE Live.
It's great to be here. Very fun place.
Yes, very fun place. Every morning there is a party on the floor of the exchange. So we are about 30 minutes away from that bell.
Yep.
What are you looking at most closely as we go into today's session?
Yeah, well, of course, I think price action reflects kind of a wait and see, hold the breath moment by the markets as we await, to your point, all of these bellwether events. We have NVIDIA earnings that is going to be critical as folks get a sense for how the AI trade is evolving. We have Fed minutes. We know that folks are really on pins and needles. There's kind of a debate going on within the Fed as to the right approach for the next cut. And of course, we have all the consumer stocks. And I think one thing that we're all watching with the consumer stocks is, are we seeing a softening of the consumer that's more broad-based, that goes beyond the low-income consumer, or is there some resilience left?
And as we mentioned, and you mentioned, NVIDIA is reporting today after market close. What can that mean for the broader AI market?
Well, in some respects, we already have a sense for how NVIDIA will report because the hyperscalers are such a good leading indicator for NVIDIA's numbers. But we'll want to see what the impact is on the lack of China sales activity for NVIDIA. We'll want to see what kind of collection of revenue they're able to receive. And we'll also want to see what their forecasts look like. Of course, NVIDIA has been the central beneficiary of the AI trade, and we are seeing kind of a slowing of growth there. And so I think investors will want to see, are they able to blow it out again? Or is this going to bring more question marks, which have been kind of permeating the market lately?
And you mentioned that slowing growth, and you say that AI is getting a welcome reset. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's really been a one-way trade. What's so interesting is we started the year in 2025 with tech really under a lot of pressure. And then with Liberation Day, it was this AI trade that led us out of the collapse that we saw in the wake of all the tariff announcements. And I think folks have been so enthused around that trade with all the CapEx reinforcing this idea that we're going into a transforming economy that there hasn't been any minute to take a breath. And of course, I think that in moments like these, you really can have prices run ahead of fundamentals and get kind of detached from the underlying value. And I think that's what we were seeing. When you look at valuations, they were very, very high. And so now we're getting a chance just to reset.
All right. And some of our guests have talked about an AI bubble. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not in the bubble camp. Certainly there is a lot of euphoria. You've seen that in sentiment. You see that in valuations. But I think when we start to take a look at, are we seeing the manifestation of demand for AI, which is so important to see whether this really transforms the economy. You see that in cloud revenue. You see that in kind of one-off anecdotal pieces of evidence like Uber deploying AI. We're starting to see kind of more tangible evidence going from answer engines to agentic to AI, down the line to robotics. So I think we're beginning to see the signs of demand that we would want to see. And I think that a lot of the CapEx build is still rooted in some measure of common sense. You have to build the capacity for the demand to come. But that doesn't mean there won't be missteps along the way. And I think those are the times where we will have those resets.
The Fed is also in focus. They are, going to be releasing meeting minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern today.
Right.
What do you think that could signal for a potential December rate cut?
Well, of course, to your point, the market is it's a coin flip in terms of whether the Fed will cut in December. I tend to believe there is one more cut in them, whether that's in December or whether that's in January, just given the weakness that we saw in payrolls. But you already see that debate playing out in overall comments with folks concerned about inflation, the stickiness there, other folks talking about the labor market. So potentially we could have a little bit more clarity on what that debate looks like.
All right, and you say that 2025 strikes you as a sentiment year. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, it's been so interesting, and I think the current sell-off is a great example of it. We haven't really seen the fundamentals change. We have seen very strong earnings. Investors were really enthused about CapEx that these companies were spending just a month ago. Now they're penalizing the same companies for that same CapEx. It really feels as though the fundamentals are remaining relatively consistent, but folks are interpreting them differently. We saw that at the start of the year with folks punishing big tech. We saw, just a real strong sentiment reaction to Liberation Day. So I think this is actually a year where investors have been able to take advantage of big price moves relative to a more stable underlying value.
All right, and given all of the economic headwinds and market volatility, how would you advise investors right now?
Well, even with the sell-off that we've had, it's my view that valuations are still pretty high. So I don't look at the sell-off that we've had as a chance to push really hard back into the market. I view this more as a rebalancing opportunity. So getting back to target, what those target positions were, and staying the course, not necessarily abandoning things based on that long-term outlook, but also continuing to wait for prices to come to more reasonable levels before adding.
All right, and is there anything that might be under the radar right now, not getting a lot of attention that you're following?
Well, just from a landscape view of the market, it's hard not to say that the market in general isn't overvalued. We talk a lot about tech, but it's also true that sector by sector and even overseas, you're seeing a lot of high valuations. The one area, and this is such a tired song because we continue to raise it, everyone continues to raise it, the one area that has been completely overlooked and disregarded remains small caps. So if you're looking for something in your portfolio that actually has a true valuation case, even though it's not in the limelight right now, I think those types of stocks still deserve a little bit of exposure.
All right, Marta Norden, Chief Investment Strategist at Empower, thank you for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
My pleasure.